Stuart, I loved Chicago. I used to visit it. I love the meals there, love the people, love the atmosphere. But Chicago will always be for me the city in 1968 that simply showed what democracy was all about, beating people up because you didn't agree with them for the Vietnam War. And it's fascinating how 56 years later, we keep reflecting on 1968 because the Democrats are back in Chicago, a city that its mayor is continuing to push that it is the city to be in and that everything will be okie dokie and there will be no echoes of 1968. We shall find out over the next few days. Hi, everybody. David Solomon back here. I'm on the road. I apologize if the recording isn't perfect. Hotel recordings. What can I get? Internet. What am I going to tell you? This is a podcast by myself, David Solomon. He is Stuart Brisgell, and we bring you these unedited, unfiltered, and uncensored conversations. We go through this wide variety of topics. This is a podcast dedicated for you, me, and others to really express your opinions. This is it. Share your thoughts, experiences, ideas. We want you to hear from a variety of perspectives and honest opinions. The liberal media is not allowing this. Liberal media wants to censor what is being broadcast. We are going to talk about what others won't. So we're diving in today into the latest news, pop culture, and so much more. And this week is all about all that. It's the Kamala Harris train. How the world is seeing Kamala Harris. One day she's a bumbling idiot. The next day she's the great world savior. I don't get it. And this week, we'll see whether the Democrats really, truly believe that this is not absurd, what they're saying right now. So let's get into it, folks. Stuart, like the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, 28 days after the Republicans, is now in Chicago. They're getting together, and they're going to talk about all the things that the Republicans are bad at. Abortion, women's rights, anti-LGBTQ, on and on. It's going to be a dumb fest. But I'm going to tell you that I believe that the 100,000 wonderful tourists who are coming to Chicago to protest, to cause anarchy, to absolutely make Chicago what it was in 1968. Stuart, you're there in the United States. What are you sensing there?
Well, let's first understand what Chicago and the Democrats have to be proud of. The last 365 days have been a total of 255,080 crimes, indexed and not indexed. There's been 119,000 violent crimes against property. There's been 119,000 indexed crimes for violence and property. There have been 28,685 violent crimes. I don't know about you, but Chicago, a Democratic stronghold, seems to like this. I mean, it is one of the literally dangerous places on earth where 12 shootings were just yesterday. Now, they talk about Chicago strong and Chicago ability to handle the insanity that's ongoing right now. The Democrats need to put up barriers and walls around their committee to keep protesters away, many of which are proud Democratic voters because they don't agree with their platform. Now, you have an arm of the Democratic Party that chants alongside, aka the Squad, from the river to the sea. You have another group that's chanting free our hostages, something that's been forgotten. Blinken, an emissary of the Biden and Kamala Harris presidency, in Israel trying to encourage them to accept the ceasefire. However, I don't hear about the envoy in Russia. I don't hear about the envoy in the Ukraine uttering the same statement. Why is Israel being singled out by this party to take a ceasefire? Why aren't they in Russia? Why aren't they trying to appeal to Vladimir Putin? Why are they doing more sanctions against Vladimir Putin? Why are they just sitting back and letting one country go to war and the other not? It's the Democratic Party who profits from this war in the Ukraine. I mean, clearly it's official that there's been money exchanged to DNC representatives from the Ukrainian government and the Russian government and the Chinese government. Perfectly clear to me. That's why they don't want to be involved. The Democrats would have you believe it's the RNC that's the Jekyll in the box. They would have you believe that the RNC is the ones trying to take your complete freedom away. It would mean they won't want you to have abortion. They don't want you to be who you are. It's just absurd. You know, oh, they're against abortion. Yes, there are some people against abortion. There are some Christian Democrats that are against abortion. It's not just a solo-handed Republican item. It's a Catholic item. But again, the Democratic Party has to be against Catholics and against the church, which very politely, the current Pope made a very polite statement about politics in America. The Democratic Party has been on the wrong side of so many issues, but it's because they see that they're not. And the idiosyncrasies of the people that believe in them want to not see it. It's kind of like the abused person in a relationship that refused to see the bruises, the broken bones, and the verbal abuse, along with the physical, isn't happening to them. It is literally, and I'm going to coin it as battered woman syndrome, that a lot of these Democratic voters seem to have. And I think it's a psychosis, because chanting from the river to the sea, taking a knee, and standing up for literally Soviet-era draconian measures like price fixing, like it's pure socialism and communism. I don't know how else to describe it, but the Democrats are trying to save this country. Are they trying to save this country to usher in a new era called communism? Because clearly this is where this convention is going to go. Mark my words. There was a coup in the United States that didn't shed a single gunshot or a single ounce of blood. Biden's been removed. And the people who are, quote, off the record need to go on the record. They removed Biden because it was clear to the world that he was not running this country for the past 3. Kamala Harris, unfortunately, a woman czar, is now claiming everything was not her. It wasn't me. I was just in the room. I didn't know they were speaking English. I'm a prosecutor. I'm a lawyer who, by the way, I believe failed the bar and just barely got through the California side. But at the end of the day, these are disgraced Americans. David, you're in Mexico. What's the word down there?
Well, listen, you know what? The people here are looking at the United States and are asking themselves, what the heck is going on? I mean, the truth is that the Stuart, that the people, whether it's here or in Canada or wherever they are, doesn't make a difference. We're all scratching our heads. Now, listen, if you're a liberal leaning person, the Dems can do no wrong, Stuart. That's always been like that. If you're a conservative, a hardcore conservatives, the conservatives can do no wrong. It's really the people in the middle, the people, the undecided, the independents, call them whatever they want. They're the ones scratching their heads going, who do we vote for? And they've seen for the last 3.5 years these absolutely asinine economic policies that have hurt the United States in a way that is unimaginable. Inflation through the roof. Even Kamala Harris had to admit inflation is high. And yet her response is, now the Democrats are going to get serious and going to take care of it. What do you mean now? You had 3.5 years. And you're telling me, as vice president, I had nothing to say. I was never involved. I was not in this. But yet you said in all of your speeches that you're side by side with Joe, making the most critical decisions. Stuart, to me, what's going to happen is what the Democrats have attracted. And this is the whole thing that bothers me is that they claim to be the party of the people, the party of democracy, the party of the underdog, all these wonderful cliches. But yet, right now, why are 100,000 descending on Chicago, Stuart? And let me tell you something. You could say there were some pro-Israel protesters going down there, 100%. But they're not the reason they're boarding up Chicago. They're not the reason that they are, they're frightened. And they're not the reason why they need, the police in downtown Chicago. It's simple. The anarchists that the Democratic Party have attracted is thanks to their extreme wing. And on the both parties, there's an extreme wing. On both parties, there's this whole notion of, oh my God, these people with these crazy philosophies. But the Democrats have attracted a ton of them. They're the ones who are now marching up and down the streets of major cities globally. They're the ones who are on the encampments in universities. They're the ones that have defaced property, destroyed property. They're the ones who, listen, Stuart, Tim Maltz admitted how he screwed up when it came up to Minnesota and Black Lives Matter. Screwed up. What is the Maltz, Harris Maltz ticket going to do? Because clearly, Kamala Harris doesn't want to do anything. She loves anarchy. The Democrats love anarchy. If Chicago burnt down tomorrow, Stuart, I think deep down they'd be thrilled.
They'd blame the Republicans. You know what, David? There's an old adage. Look for fault on someone else, find a narcissist, and someone who's responsible for doing it. That is just, unfortunately, the nature of these people. I don't understand the blind faith and following. They seem like, I hate to use this, but like crazy religious zealots that they're opposed to.
But they're on both sides. You got them on both sides. And
I got it. I got that. But what you don't have on both sides are Chicago is comparing itself to Detroit for least amount of murders. I mean, when you have those states that need to literally compare themselves to each other, who's worse is 11%.
But Stuart, that's Chicago versus Detroit, and I'm not going to get into that part of it because you and I have talked about, the former mayor of Chicago and what she's done, and this mayor is no better. He's actually worse, the way I see it. The Democrats are going to be in Chicago, folks, this week. They're going to coronate Kamala Harris in the most non-democratic fashion possible. They throw out millions of votes across the United States in a democratic process. And I put that in quotation marks because for the third straight election, the Democrats have basically coronated their candidate. They gave it to Hillary, they gave it to Joe, and now they're giving it to Kamala. Stuart, the democratic process, right, means, go around the country and vote for the right person. There are no 16 candidates. There were none. And now here, look what happened, Stuart. This is what's going to happen. The word, it was very interesting. The word that was being used was a putsch. You called it a shot. Nobody fired a shot, but the New York Times called it a coup. A coup. And that's what it was. And if you call this democracy, if this is the Democratic Party that you want to vote for, please do. But more to me, what I'm going to watch for this week is how the Dems react to what goes on outside. The 100,000 people who are descended on Chicago are going to protest. The Democrats are saying, hey, look, we believe in free speech, unlike the Republicans, where we squelch free speech. I love it. Nobody can do any right. But Stuart, I believe that if there is any violence, any destruction of property, which I expect because everywhere these anarchists have gone, that's what they've done. They've ruined university campuses. They've destroyed property. They have defaced monuments. And then they say, we want immunity from prosecution. Folks, that's 1968 all over again. All over again.
Well, it's 1968 on steroids because this isn't a pro-democracy type anti-war. This is pro-socialism and communism, which is it is. I mean, they want to have price control. They want to have free
Actually, the crazy thing is that within the Democratic Party, there are rumblings that Harris went too far, that they don't want price control because in 37 states you can't do price gouging. It's like what she said was nonsensical, and it's going to bite them. But now they have to sit at their convention, and they have to see we'll see what happens. But you know, Stuart,
walls for me, but not for thee. No southern border, but you got walls all around the city.
Stuart, you know what? Kamala Harris is going to get up on that dais on Thursday, and she's going to give, I think it's Thursday, and she's going to give a pre-written speech again, and she's going to get people, tens of thousands of people are going to be rallying and cheering and crying and screaming and all amazing, 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 amazing. And again, there are no press conferences for her. Again, she is avoiding, she repeats the same speech everywhere she goes, the same message everywhere she goes. We'll see, Stuart. We shall see what this week will be like for the Democratic National Convention. Stuart, with that, let's wrap it up. What do you got to say? Last word, my friend.
Oh, I can't wait to hear Joe's speech tonight. I've got an extra special hanky that I brought from Italy to wipe the tears out of my eyes.
Hey, Stuart, you know what? Just make sure that they don't film him from behind because they'll see the knife still stuck in his back. That's it, folks. Thanks for today's episode. We thank you for listening to the Rant Network. We hope you've taken something from this and watch with bated breath this week. We love your support. Really appreciate it. We're seeing a growth in our listenership and our viewership because every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we do this, and we broadcast this on YouTube. We're all on other social. In the meantime, don't forget, just click, like, share. It's really critical for us to grow. Remember, it's thanks to you that we're here. We look forward to seeing you guys on Wednesday when we could see what more